everybody, and welcome back to Criterion Watch for the
Yay.
second season. Season 2, baby. We are in Los Angeles, California, in my new apartment, so I'm really excited, and we can't wait to get into it. Paul's got a little bit of a cold. That happens, I guess. So we just wanted to kind of start this up by talking about In a Lonely Place.
There you go. Good
That's
movie.
my callback. I wanted a movie that took place in Hollywood, and had another movie in mind, but we ended up going with this one instead. Which I think honestly this was a good movie to do, because it was sort of a throwback to the 40s, or it was a 40s movie. So it was, having a throwback kind of thing for us was really nice. And it was Humphrey Bogart, Bogey himself, as the lead character, Dixon Steele.
And it's a Nicholas Ray movie.
It's a Nicholas Ray movie.
So those of you who like They Live by Night and a couple other movies, yeah, you'll like it.
You'll enjoy it. If you haven't seen it, you probably should, because it's a pretty decent movie, honestly. And it's different. Like, it's definitely a different movie for Humphrey Bogart to do. But I guess we'll start by talking about the story. So it starts off in, obviously, Los Angeles, California. And Humphrey Bogart is coming to this bar, basically to find out about, to meet up with his agent and another director, have a meeting at a bar. And he ends up getting asked to write this screenplay for a book. And he has no interest in the book at all. Like, he has, and the more people tell him about it, like, he has this hat check girl come home and read it to him and everything, or at least tell him the story. And I don't understand why she had to tell him the story at the house, why she couldn't just tell him the story while they're driving, and then, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. Like, because
the story kind of demands that she get there. And
I guess she was supposed to read it to him, but she never does. He's too tired after hearing the story. He's tired. But before they get to the apartment, he meets this woman, and he kind of has this little infatuation with her, one of the neighbors, and she ends up kind of being able to see inside his house, and that he's, all the stuff that's going on around there. And even though they never show it, I guess she saw him leave.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I wanted to point out, is we never saw that. And there's another point I wanted to make about the whole thing, but go ahead with the story.
Okay. So anyway, she the next day, which was really quick, they didn't even have like much of a dissolve. It was like the next morning, a cop who's actually his friend comes to visit and tells him, we got to take you to the station and meet with the captain. The captain tells him basically that the girl was murdered, and very emotionless, Humphrey Bogart tells him like he didn't do it, basically. So he ends up bringing the girl, who's the basically the his alibi, to the station, and they kind of have this little thing together. They both kind of like each other, but she doesn't want to like rush into a relationship with him or whatever. But he's ready to go. And so he looks her up, and he finds some information, brings her over to his house to make sure everything's good, because he didn't, he's claiming he didn't do it, which according to all of us, we have no reason to believe that he did. He sent the girl home, give her $20 for a taxi. Apparently that was a lot of money, for nowadays. $20 is probably what an Uber would cost from whatever, and that's it. But apparently she had some extra money for working for him, for helping him out. And then, so the murder investigation is still going on throughout the whole thing. And you can kind of see Dixon and the girl fall in love. And then there's a wonder, like, did he do it? Did he not do it the whole time? You're just wondering. And the more they start showing him, he becomes more violent and more nasty. And you kind of see, like, his real side. And she starts getting scared. People warn her about him. I mean, it just goes on and on for that. So, at the end of the movie, I guess spoiler alert, if you have not seen In a Lonely Place, go see it. honestly, it is one of the best. Well, not one of the best, but it's a really great Humphrey Bogart movie. I liked it. I would put it up there next to Casablanca and African Queen and all the other films because it's just, to me, it's just great. And I wanted to show Paul because he had never seen it. So
right. And while I would not put it up there as far as Casablanca or some of the other big movies from the 40s, it was still a pretty good movie. It was well shot. It was well photographed. If you like film noir, this isn't exactly in the film noir canon. It's a little more soap opera-ish, but it still has a lot of the film noir elements to it. And you get to see the great sets. I love the apartments. I loved all the wrought iron gates and the way they dressed up the apartments back in the 40s. That all stuff was spot on, and it was really, really cool. And it adds to the atmosphere. And it makes, the atmosphere itself was very tense. And I thought that Nicholas Ray did a very good job with that. I had some issues with the screenplay. I forget who it was who did the screenplay, but
his name was like Andrew Salt or something.
Yeah, this guy, whether it's the 40s or whether he just didn't know anything about police procedurals, there's some definite big fat no-nos that you would not do, like bringing in a witness so that the person that you think may have killed somebody knows exactly who it is, and you interview her right in front of him. Because God forbid if he, she's telling the truth and she points him out, now he knows where she is and where she lives and can just kill her.
I know, so
it's ridiculous.
It's pretty much tainted at that particular moment.
Using a cop who is a friend and knows him and is not objective in this to go and be the person in the investigation. Would never do that today. It's really, that in that respect, that's bad.
There was a lot of other things that you pointed out while we were watching it because, like, every single thing, it's almost like a slap to the forehead.
And it was interesting, the point that you made about we don't see what she sees. The whole thing hinges on her being able to make the identification. Well, we don't see that. So when the story was going on, I thought what was going to happen was that instead of falling in love with his face, I didn't get that. I kept thinking she was going to say that he was involved. Because before she leaves, there's like 3 or 4 times where the hat check girl's been yelling. And he's hey, help me. And he's like, hey, I got neighbors. But that would have drawn her to the window to see what the hell's going on. And she would have seen and got the wrong idea. That's kind of where I thought the story was going.
I think if they remade this today, that would be one of the things that they would definitely do, show that. Because I think maybe that's a 40s thing of not showing some of this stuff because this is more like a play, you know what I mean? A lot of times there's only a few locations and you know what I mean?
Well, the whole mistaken identity thing is definitely, or misidentification thing is definitely a film noir 40s kind of a thing. So I was kind of expecting it to be like that, and then it just kind of went in a very weird direction that I wasn't planning on it to go. And and then he really starts pushing for them to get married, and it's like, God, you just met this girl. It was a little odd like that. And then it's funny because it ends up with a very bittersweet kind of ending because, when the truth finally comes out, it doesn't really matter because it's too late because Dixon has actually showed her what he's like. You know what I mean? Oops.
Well, that's good. That's good.
It's good for her.
Good for her now because now she gets to see it before they actually make a real commitment to each other. But there's that scene where he's just literally about to kill her at the end.
Irony of ironies.
And then he gets that phone call, and he finds out, the guy had confessed to the murder.
Yeah, I mean, in the first minute of the film, he's already threatening a guy to beat him up.
Right.
And then this other guy, they're about to run each other off the road. He's punching him, and then he picks up a rock and was going to crush his skull. She's like, you're going to kill him.
I know.
I mean, he's this close to being a crazy murderer.
Yeah, and then there's the one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, which nobody would ever do this. I mean, just understand, this scene is not something that you would actually normally see anyway. But there's a great scene where Dixon, played by Humphrey Bogart, gets invited to the detective that is friends with him's house for dinner. And his wife's there, and they're going over, what he thinks, how the killer would have killed the person, and he starts having his detective friend strangle his wife.
Harder.
He's watching it, but it's like it's zooming in on him, and he's just like he looks like he's enjoying it, and it is the most creepy scene I've ever seen in a movie. I absolutely loved it. That scene just Nicholas Ray photographed that so well. Had his DP photograph it so well that it just blew my mind. So it was wonderful. But like in real life, nobody would ever, people think that dude's psycho. Like the girl even says he's psycho,
right?
And the detective's like, I don't know what you like. He's very, he in his mind, all he's thinking about is how he saved his life from the war or whatever that they were in together. He saved him or whatever and helped all these other people out. So he's always justifying for him, which is just like, what? Like, you can't do that as a cop.
It's funny. It's just like he spends the whole movie trying to convince everyone that he didn't kill this girl, but he almost nearly kills like several people. And it's like almost at the end, so he almost wants to say, well, I didn't kill this person. I may have killed other people, but not this one. Can't pin that one on me. I'm
wondering if in the novel he was the killer, and in the screenplay they had to change it because it was Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart can't be the killer. Like a lot of back in the 40s, a lot of films were, the main, like look at the movie Suspicion, movie I'm definitely planning to do for Film Freaks. Rebecca. The killer is or the person is a big name actor. Laurence Olivier in Rebecca and Cary Grant in Suspicion, and it looks like they could be the killer, but they turn out not to be the killer. Because
yes. However, there are ones that go against that. Night of the Hunter.
Was Robert Mitchum a big star then, or not?
Not as big as he was, but he was the lead, definitely.
I know, but that's the thing. The whole time, Robert Mitchum played bad guys. So anybody who didn't play a bad guy was not allowed to play bad guys back then. That was a really big deal. Well, no, it's not just that. It's just like people. I think back then the studios felt that it would confuse the audience to see somebody go from one. Actors probably would love it, because they don't want to just play the same simple roles or whatever. But Hollywood's doing that a lot more nowadays. Anyway, like Tom Cruise is never playing a killer, because he's only playing, the same roles.
Peter Lorre always plays the creepy guy. No matter what he does, he can't escape that.
And typecasting, but. It's also, I think that's just what people expect, you know what I mean? And they don't like to be, have, Would
have been interesting if we'd seen Cary Grant play a murderer or serial killer. That would have been very interesting.
Yeah, it would have been interesting.
Yeah.
To see that, but we'll see.
I've
never seen any movies. I don't think I've ever seen any of his movies like that.
I've never been a big Bogart fan. I always thought he was kind of a decent actor, but not a great actor. To me, I
love him.
I just never thought it was but I thought he was good in this particular film. And like I said, I thought it was shot well. For the most part, the movie works in everything that it needs to be. I just think the screenplay was very weak. I did not like the ending where it's just conveniently the guy who actually is the real killer just conveniently confesses at the end and wants to shoot himself.
Right.
Just conveniently that lets them off the hook. And I'm like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah, but I kind of like that. I don't know. I'm weird like that. I enjoyed that because it really, when I first saw it, I was like, I thought he was the killer. Right? Like, I thought he was the killer. And I thought the confession was that the guy saw, him kill him. So there's all this wonder, what is going to be the ending of this? Like, how is this gonna work? And then it just turns you on your head.
Well, the thing is that the story really is not about the killing. I mean, that's kind of incidental. The whole thing is about the love story between these two people and how she is, falls in love with him, but then starts to slowly wonder if she's made the right choice because little by little it's being revealed that he's got all these problems, and it's like, okay, maybe she actually did kill this woman because I see the way he is now, and the irony of him acting in a way to say, I'm not this, I didn't do this, by the way, I'm also going to kill you. And it's a doomed romance is what it is.
Exactly. It's a toxic relationship. And it's definitely a good talk on toxic relationships, especially with angry, violent men in their life. And I like it because I think even today it definitely works in today's culture, because we live in a culture where a lot of times women stay with men who are violent just because they're afraid to leave them. And this girl is doing everything she can to leave him, but she lives right next to him. She can't go anywhere, you know? There's that part where he's banging on the door, and you're like, why'd you let him in? Because he's just going to go, you know, and you're like, why didn't you call the cops?
Martha warned her. Martha the masseuse warned her.
Martha the masseuse. There's Martha the masseuse. Oh, we should talk about the characters.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. So there's Dixon Steele. I'm not gonna remember everybody's name exactly, but we're gonna talk about who they are basically, because there's Dixon Steele, and then what was Gloria Graham's name in it? God. I mean, it's weird because she's like the main character, but I don't remember her name. It was weird. They didn't say her name as much, I don't think. I know Mildred was the hat check girl.
Poor Mildred. I liked her a lot.
Yeah, he wished that she was the main character because she was so sweet. And she was so funny too. She had like these kind of
funny
character things that made her quirky and funny.
Right. I liked her. And then there was the agent. I forget his name too.
Yeah.
The director was Lloyd something.
Lloyd, yeah.
And they're kind of incidental characters. They kind of
come and go. I think the agent's a little bit bigger of a character.
The agent's bigger, but the director there is the guy he's the reason why Dixon needs to be writing this screenplay of this book. And the interesting thing is, of course, is that he does and writes a great screenplay with the girl's help, but it's not like the book at all, which is what the director wanted. But it turns out he liked it anyway. Yeah. He loved it.
He loved it. He thought it was great.
And when that happened, he didn't care because it came too late again, because he lost what he really wanted, which was to marry this woman that he just met.
So none of it matters at the end. Like, his life is just crumbling apart. That's another thing about this movie that the 1940s never really did. And maybe that's why it wasn't as famous, or it became famous later, you know? Especially since in the 1940s, the biggest thing was that happy endings. You know, Hollywood, it was so big on happy endings. This was not a happy ending whatsoever. This was very gloom and doom. And from the very... And you do not... Even though Humphrey Bogart plays such a fantastic role in it, in my opinion, his character is such a dick. It kind of works for Dixon.
He's a dick, but he has snappy dialogue.
He does. He's got really fast, quick-witted dialogue. I don't know if all of it's written by the screenwriter or some of it's, improv or anything. My favorite line of the whole thing is, you've made and remade the same film, for 20 years. You know what you are? You're a popcorn salesman. And then the guy says, so are you, but at least I admit it. Right. Or whatever, and so it's funny,
So then we've got Brub, who is the detective.
That's the weirdest name. I thought that was like a nickname weird. Until like the wife said it. Then I was like, that's different.
So and then his wife Sylvia, and then there's Lochner, who's the police chief.
Yeah, Chief Lochner.
Yeah, he's the one who's investigated. He's kind of the pot stirrer. Who gets everything going.
And he does things wrong, like, showing him pictures and doing all these things. I mean...
Giving him access to all of the evidence. It's just like...
And, like, telling him everything, like, right in front of him. Like, usually you step outside and say...
And I think that 40s thing you bring out is probably correct. I think they're thinking that the audience is okay with this because this is Humphrey Bogart, the leading man. And he can't be the killer, so therefore...
Right, but also I think it's because back in the 40s they probably didn't do that stuff well anyway. Like, they weren't, they didn't have a lot of the stuff. They weren't as professional as it is now. Nowadays you cannot get away with a lot of that stuff.
They still had a lot of basic police stuff that they would have done, but even so, it just was jarring about how different it was and how you would not do any of that stuff today. But anyway, then there is, There is Martha, is it or Effa? Effa is the maid.
Effa. Oh my God!
The one who's always smoking.
Smoking while she's cleaning and putting her ashes on the ground. And talking about
it's like she's cleaning up in front, and leaving ashes as she goes. It's funny as hell.
Well, she's also, she can't vacuum because everybody needs sleep or whatever. So there's like no time in the day, I guess, that they're not home or something.
So she's funny, and then Martha is the masseuse that I guess is her personal masseuse, and gives her advice for free because she's gotten away from this guy Baker, whom we never see.
Yeah. So she's gotten away from this, but the masseuse has been the masseuse for all of Dixon's women. So she kind of tells her a little bit like, hey, you need to be careful with this guy. I've seen the last few girls, that kind of thing.
Then there's another one, a sort of Hollywood starlet named Gloria, who's been in a few of his pictures, and she was pursuing him for a while.
I think her name was Frances or something. Fran? Is that who you're talking about?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think her name was Fran. What?
The brunette.
Yeah. Her name was like Fran or something.
I thought it was Gloria.
Yeah, no, it's not Gloria. Gloria is the name of the actress who played the main girl. But
okay.
No, but Fran, I think, was her name, something like that. And she came up and she talked with them, and you see her in the first act and you see her in the last act. She's in the first act where
and it's funny, just like Sylvia, she makes a oopsie by saying something that she's not supposed to, and gets Dixon pissed off and reveals information that she should not have.
Right.
I find it curious that it was both women who do that.
I don't know if that's like a thing that the writer was trying to do, or if that was in the book, or whatever it was. I think a lot of this probably wasn't even in the book, which makes me laugh because like it reminds me in a way of like adaptation, where they're adapting it, but it's like completely different than the book. I think maybe that also happens because what happens with Dixon Steele, he wrote a screenplay that wasn't like close to the book, or whatever. Which I guess was what the guy wanted. Then later he changed his mind.
And then of course he has the lines about, I loved you for a short time and blah 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 blah. I forget what they are. And of course that's exactly what happens with him. And
then she says it at the end, kind of as the closing. I've loved you. I loved you while I can, or whatever it was.
Right. It's a little bit of a sudzer, but it was interesting. An interesting reflection.
So honestly, looking back at it, since it's sort of new to you and everything, you've never seen it, and everything, do you, as a Criterion film, do you think this was perfect for Criterion?
Oh yeah, it's a good Criterion movie. I can see why they wanted to preserve it, and I can see why they would want to, clean the stuff up and put it out there for people to see. It's not necessarily my favorite Criterion, but it was still a decent movie to see. Glad I saw it.
Well, I mean, there's over thousands of Criterion films, so it's really hard to pick that, right? Like it's hard to pick your favorites anyway. But yeah, I think it is one of the films that I adore. I absolutely adore. I think it's. I think I bought it. I had seen it from the library. I rented it from the library years ago, and I mainly because I just I had heard of it. And it was about a screenwriter. I'm a screenwriter, so I'm always interested in seeing how people view screenwriters, especially in the 1940s. I want to know what, like, if there was anything different, or whatever. And I mean, and I love the Hollywood feel. You mentioned while we were talking that this felt like it's so funny. Everybody like knows each other in this town, and like, and it's Hollywood. Everybody's like Hollywood's such a big freaking town. I mean, we've been traveling through Hollywood. We know, it takes us like, it might take us an hour to get to one part of Hollywood, or it might take us 15, 20 minutes. It just depends on where we're going.
And I guess the one comparison I do want to make with, say, Rebecca is that while the cinematography in this movie was good, and like I said, it helped set the sort of noirish feel, it didn't make it to the next level great like, say, Rebecca does. To me, that's one of the shining things about Rebecca was the absolutely gorgeous black and white photography that was used in that film.
Yeah,
it was good in this one, but it wasn't. It just did not compare.
I don't know. I thought the photography was amazing.
Had some good shots.
the lighting, everything about the photography. I thought they did a great job. They handled it well. There was nothing and there were some amazing shots in that. Like just like the one I just absolutely adore that shot of just him. And it's so simple. Like it's not something that's like a trick or hard to do or whatever. But I guess it was just a mixture of Humphrey Bogart. It was a mixture of like the music with the scene mixed in. It just, to me, it just did a really great job. And the music was wonderful too. I just adored every, it ramped me up when it needed to. It definitely.
Yeah, that's another difference because I don't generally like intrusive music, but that's just what they did back in the 40s and 50s.
That's what they still do today, and I like that. Like that's my kind of thing. I like to get when I hear the music, I like to get involved. So yeah, I think this was an amazing movie to watch. I think this will be something that filmmakers should watch if you're a filmmaker and you want to see something done by a really fantastic director. Nicholas Ray is just amazing.
Well, and I think if you're a Bogart fan, you probably should see this because this is not the same character that he plays in Casablanca or in African Queen, excuse me, or in Maltese Falcon. This is just a very different thing, and that was really cool to see him like that. Although there are still certain things. I mean, they always have to make him out to be the tough guy. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, but, and you don't buy him as a tough guy? Is that what you said
really.
Before?
But that aside, it was nice to see him doing something. Be a writer. I liked that part. So that was kind of cool.
Well, we are almost wrapped up for today, but we want to thank you guys so much for checking this out. We have his voice is bad right now just because of
the Las Vegas flu.
Yeah, he got something. He caught something in Las Vegas.
Baby ghost being got me.
Speaking of which, we got a lot done this time. Yeah, so we did 2 podcasts for Indie Film Cafe, which you'll see this month. Film Freaks that we did a couple days ago.
Yep.
And then let's see, we did this, and we've gotten a bunch of haul videos for Indie Film Cafe.
And it actually took a time. We had some technical issues to get this movie finally rolling, and we had to do a couple of attempts at it. But when we finally got it rolling, it was good to go.
It was good to go, and I'm glad we started from the very beginning and caught everything.
As far as the Criterion watch or the Criterion itself, the DVD is really, really nice. The Blu-ray. It comes with all kinds of extras, doesn't it? I mean,
it does. It has commentaries and behind the scenes documentaries.
They did a really good job of cleaning it up. It looked good. It played well, and Criterion always has good stuff on their discs.
We definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to watch it, say on the Criterion channel, if it's on there, I don't even know because I haven't been watching the Criterion channel in a little bit. But it probably is. If you get a chance to watch it or rent it or buy it. I would say buy it because I think it's definitely a movie to own in the collection. But also I want to own every Criterion film even if I don't like it. I already own a couple that I'm not a huge fan of, but to me it's closer to being like a completist of the Criterions.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I'm glad I saw it because otherwise I probably wouldn't have seen it. I don't know that I want to own it, but it was good to have seen it.
Yeah. You can say now that you watched Nicholas Ray's In a Lonely Place.
Right.
And that to me, I think, is one of the greatest things about this show and us showing people or, people have never seen these films maybe too. I think like we showed for Film Freaks, we did, since this will be out after Film Freaks anyway, so we can say it, we did Waiting for Guffman with Lila. So if you watch that, Lila had such a fun time because she had never seen it before, and that was kind of right up her alley. So she loved it. That's the thing. That's what I love doing. I love bringing people into a film that they've never seen before.
Right. That's a good idea, and that's a movie like this is perfect for that.
Yep. For a series like this. So keep checking. We'll be back next month with your movie. I have no idea what you're going to do.
I'll be back in Virginia. I haven't decided what we're going to do yet, but it'll be something good.
And you'll probably have somebody like Lenore or one of the people, a cool special guest, if not more.
I promised Just Jen I was going to show her some good movies to make up for some of the crappy ones that I've shown.
That's probably a good idea.
So it wouldn't be surprised if I can get Just Jen into one of it.
That would be great.
Yeah. She deserves a couple good ones.
Yeah. So there you go. Well, if you enjoyed this, give us a thumbs up. And
subscribe.
Also, let people know about this channel. And check out Sick Flick. Let's see. There's the Sick Flick Network, which this is a part of the Sick Flick Network. So check that stuff out on sickflickproductions.com. So
and hopefully by the next time you see me, I'll be finished with this cold and
it'll be a month. Hopefully,
hopefully
you'll be back to normal. But we'll see. I guess we'll find out. I won't even know because I'll be up here. You'll be there. It's crazy.
I know.
All right, man. Well, you guys all have a good one.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.